Normally, I don't find learning anything about text too exciting. In this video, I'll try to make it more interesting for both you and me, mainly you. Okay, me. This video is going to have two parts. In the first part, we'll add text to an image, and in the second part, we'll add some text effects. Here I have an image of a longhorn steer with a transparent background. We need to create a new document, so we'll go to File and New, and then the new document page will open up. In your settings, you're going to come up here and in the drop down, select Press Ready, and then make sure that Letter is selected. Down here under Layout, you want your page width to be 11 inches and your page height to be 8.5 inches. Your DPI should be 300. Now under Color, well, here's the layer, the tab. This is where we are. If you click the Color tab, you want Transparent Background to not be selected, and it's not. And then you go to the Margins tab, and you want to uncheck Include Margins because we don't want any margins here. And then you can say Create. So now we have up here, we have our untitled document, but our longhorn steer has not disappeared. The longhorn is still there. See? It's just under the other tab. Okay, so now we have two separate tabs. We have an untitled document and we have our longhorn steer. Now what we need is we need a pixel layer on top of this document. So we're going to go down here to the icons bar, and right here, this thing next to the trash can that says Add Pixel Layer, we're going to click Add Pixel Layer, and there we have our new layer. You'll kind of see why we need that once we get going here. Okay, now click on the Longhorns tab over here, and you're going to select Edit and Copy. And then you're going to go back to this, the Documents tab, and then you'll select and paste. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to obviously resize this longhorn because it's too big for the document. Now before you try to do this, do not forget to select the Move tool, otherwise nothing is going to happen. So now we can resize our longhorn. And what we want is we don't want it in the set. Well, we do want it in the center of the page, but we want it up at the top because down here is where we're going to stick our text. But before we do that, we're going to change the color of the document. So the first thing we need to do before we can do that is to select the pixel layer. If you select the longhorn, what it's going to do, the color is going to cover the whole thing. And we just want a new background color. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to go to the menu bar and then go to Edit and then Fill. Okay, once we do that, this little pop-up is going to come up, and to select the color that we want, we're going to click on the color box. So we click on the color box, and this little wheel comes up. This is our color wheel. Okay, so we're going to click on this, and on our color wheel, notice how when I click on it, it changes the background to the color that the wheel is on. But I don't want that red. What I want is burnt orange. And there we go. So we get a nice shade of burnt orange. And then once we get that, then we can select Apply. And now we've got our orange background on our longhorn. Okay, now what we came here for is for the text. Over here, you have to select the text tool. Oh, excuse me, it's the artistic text tool. When you mouse over the background after selecting this, you're going to see a tiny little A. So once we get there, you're going to click on the place where you want to start your text. So that's going to be around here, and it'll give you a little anchor, and then we will pull it down to about the size that we want our text to be. Of course, you can change it later on, so it really doesn't matter, but it makes it a whole lot easier if you do this in the first place. So now we're going to type our text, and I will do that. So there's our text. And so now all we have to do is to fix the font and the color and all that. Okay, so I'm not going to move it right now. I'm going to do the font first. Now what I found, let's see if it still does it to me. In order to select the text, you've got to click on it 3 times. But what it does to me is it doesn't select the exclamation point. And I want that in there, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to manually just select the whole thing like that. Okay, so once I have the whole thing selected, now what you're going to do is you're going to go up here to the font box and click on the font box, and it's going to give you a whole bunch of cute little font selections. What I really like about this is once you scroll, you can see my hookem is changing, so it's a lot easier to kind of decide which one you're going to do. And some of these are really cool looking. But I'll just select bangers so we can get on with it here. Right here you've got regular, or why won't this? Okay, you've got a regular font. And now over here we select the size of our text, and I'm going to go ahead and go down here. See how it changes once you select it? I'm going to go down here. There it goes. It's little and then it's big. Okay, I'll stop playing around. I'm going to select 96 point, and then over here you'll see that we have bold and italic. But for this particular font, the bold and italic can't be used. You can underline it if you want. There's your underline. So we're not going to do that. If you want to change the color, this is the color box. What kind of throws you is since it's black, it looks like there's nothing there, but there really is. And if you click on it, you'll see that we have our color wheel again. Now we have 2 circles on our color wheel. We have this circle, which we used for the background. This circle right here is used for the text color. So let's click on this and see what happens when we move it around. Well, when we move this around, nothing really good happens. So we'll go back up there. But if you kind of spin it around, then you can get some other colors and see what that's going to do. That goes toward a yellowish. Or you can spin it around a little bit more and see how the triangle changes colors. Now you've got green and all that sort of thing. Now I'm not real wild about any of those colors, so I'm just going to stick with black. So we'll just put our color wheel back to black, and then I'll click out of it so that I can select it. Now, what you need to do now is to center the text. And again, don't forget to click on the Move tool. So we've clicked on the Move tool, and we will select the text. So when we move it over, we'll move it over, and we get kind of we get this center line so you can select your text really nicely. You don't have to guess and all that sort of thing. Okay, now, the last thing that we have is this squiggly line under here. And most of you, if you've done any kind of typing before, it's trying to tell you that it's misspelled. Well, obviously, the person that made this program was an Oklahoma Sooner because that's not misspelled. So all you're going to have to do is to right-click, and then it will tell you, whoops, we're not going to do that, right-click, and it should tell you to just not worry about it, but it's not. Oh, well, it did before. Okay, it's not. When you right-click, what it should do is give you an ignore spelling choice. And it's not giving me that. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you're not going to get it if you try to print this out or whatever. So I'm not really sure why it's not working. But if you try it yourself, you might find that it works for you. This might be the definition of insanity, where you try to... Maybe I need to select the text. I do! That's what we have to do. You have to select the text. Then it gives you all these other options right here. I'm just going to stick with my option because I like it better. And then we just say ignore spelling, and it will get rid of that line. So remember, if you have to do this, you have to select the text by clicking on it a couple of times to make sure it's selected. In this case, it doesn't matter if the exclamation point isn't selected. Alrighty, so that is how you insert text into a document. We now have our Longhorn, we now have our Hook'em, and that is the end of part 1. Here in part 2, we're going to dress up the text in our image a little bit to make it more interesting by adding some text effects. Here we have a picture of Bevo with his handler. I'm not sure how old this picture is or which Bevo this is. Again, I got it from pixabay.com, which is where I get most of my images. I'm going to select the Artistic Text tool from the Tools bar. So this is similar to what we did the last time, except we don't have to add a layer. Then, placing it over here, I'm going to type out boom next to Bevo's nose. Now I want to choose a font for this, of course, just like we did before. I think I want an exclamation point here. Right. So I want to choose a font. So after selecting the text, I'm going to go up to the font menu, and I'm going to select a font called F Rotten. Yes, that's really its name, F Rotten font. Okay, so now we have our F Rotten font selected. But we're not going to leave it like that. We're going to dress it up a little bit more. And in case you're wondering, this F Rotten font doesn't come with the program. It comes from a website called www.defont.com. So if you want this font, that's where you'll have to go, and you can download all sorts of fonts that you might like to use later on if you don't like all the ones that are in the Affinity program. So now I've selected the font, and the font menu is closed. So now we'll need to go over to the icons bar and select this FX right here. When I select the FX, it's going to open up the layer effects panel, and what you'll need to do is to select outline. And remember, you'll be selecting outline and you'll also be checking it, so make sure that nothing else is checked and that you have outline selected so that it's outlined in blue. The radius is going to be 3.4. So now we have that. And then you're going to go to the color box, and that will pull up our color wheel. And you're going to select some sort of a red color. So turn the color wheel until you get the red color you want. I'm just going to keep it here. So once I do that, then all we'll do is to close the panel. Alrighty. Now on the tools bar, oh yeah, we're not done yet. On the tools bar, you'll want to select this tool over here that looks kind of like a mesh. Maybe that's why it's called Mesh Warp Tool. So you'll need to select the Mesh Warp tool. Now once you select the Mesh Warp tool, you'll find that when you pull on these corners, that you'll be able to do all sorts of interesting things and bizarre things with your text. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fool around with it and warp it the way I want. And there. And once I get it the way I want, we will then go up and select Apply. So now our text effect is applied to the boom. I want to move this around a little bit, so we'll put it down here next to his nose. We're going to turn it a little. So just play around with these and get what you want with the photo that you're using. So you may not be using a photo like mine. Okay, so we've got boom right there. Okay, so now the last thing we have to do is to select the text tool again, right here, and up here we are going to type in 24 to 3. And once we do that, we'll move it around the way we want it. Just put it right there, unselect it, and now we are done with our picture. Guess which school I graduated from? It's been a great weekend in college football, and I plan to enjoy it while it lasts. So, play around with the text effects and see which one you like. We learn by doing. I'm still hoping to drop 1 to 2 Affinity Photo 2 videos a week. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to help my channel grow, and so you can catch the next video. And hook 'em.